I'm going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves. I will call on you so that we're not talking over each other. And I will start with Anne.
Thank you, Carmela. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me on this panel, Marcy. I am a December of 2018 graduate of the Mount Mercy MBA program, and I spent 2.5 years going through the program and just really had a really valuable, enriching experience for myself. I was one of those that had the opportunity for those 2.5 years to actually do that in person, but also did experience some more virtual work with some of the project groups I was with virtually. I just recently was with Alliant Energy for a number of years and have transitioned my career just recently and started working for, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the company Oracle. I'm actually working for Oracle Utilities, working for one of their energy services programs in the area that I really focused on in my most recent roles at Alliant in regulatory affairs and market development. So excited to be a part of the panel and just share our experience at the MBA program. Thank you, Carmela.
Thanks, Dan. Danielle.
Hi there, my name is Danielle, and I graduated from the Mount Mercy program 2 years ago now in May, I think it'll be. And I work at Van Meter, and I've worked here for 5.5 years. I went back and I got my MBA. And I was fortunate to do the combination, which I really appreciated. So a lot of my classes were online, but then I was also given the opportunity to be in person as well.
Thanks, Danielle. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen. I am from Massachusetts, talking to you from Massachusetts. I did the online MBA completely online, obviously. I work for the city of Taunton. I am the assistant executive director of the retirement office, and I've been with them for 7 years. I finished my MBA, I think it was December of 2019. So it's been full force running since then.
Thanks, Karen. Dante.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Dante Estevez. I'm currently in the Masters of Strategic Leadership program. My anticipated graduation date will be April of 2022. So I'm in my 6th class right now, which is about halfway through. And I'm currently employed by Collins Aerospace. I'm the director of quality there. So I lead a team of leaders, various responsibilities that we have. And I was really excited to come back to school and join the Mount Mercy program here. And I was really excited specifically around the strategic leadership program because looking at that in the MBA program, I really felt that the Masters of Strategic Leadership was something that better suited the work that I was involved in. So I was really excited. I've really enjoyed my time here at Mount Mercy, which is why I always volunteer and participate in these things to share my experiences and hopefully answer some questions and concerns that you all have.
Thanks, Dante. Amber.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amber O'Connor. I am with the ACT Center for Equity in Learning. I've been with ACT for 7 years. I'm a program manager too, working to close education gaps for students from underserved backgrounds. I am a double Mustang. I proudly wear that title. I am a class of 1997 traditional age student with a public relations and marketing double major. And then a class of 20 MSL grad. I wrapped that up in November. Carm and I were in our wrap-up class together in our capstone. And I'm hoping, and I promise both Todd and Marcy, my plan is to complete the MBA program as well. There's just been some disruptions. I have a college freshman, but we will, it's just 8 classes. I can handle 8 more classes. I'm going to do it. And I sit on the alumni board for Mount Mercy University as well.
Thanks, Amber. Mark.
Hey, everybody. My name is Mark Freed. I am the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at Mount Mercy. I've actually worked at Mount Mercy for 8 years now, as of about 2 weeks ago. I completed the Masters of Strategic Leadership program, finished in 2018, after about 2 years of doing it. found myself in a role. I started as a kind of an entry-level position here at Mount Mercy and worked my way up to be an assistant director. And as I got into a role where I felt that some leadership skills could come in handy, started exploring the opportunity of a master's degree and talked with Marcy. And basically a week later, she said, "You're enrolled in classes." And so it was a good push from her to get me started. It was really what I needed, so I didn't drag my feet on it. And I dove right in, loved every class I took, was very happy with all of it. And everything went well. And now Marcy gets to bug me all the time of joining these things since I'm an employee here. And as I'm in the financial aid office, some of you may recognize me from that because I've probably worked with some of you or have seen your information come through our system. So I'm open to any questions about the program or outside of the session, questions about your individual financial aid as well. So
Marcy's notorious for gentle nudging. We call it pushing. We call it gentle. I signed you up for a class. Okay. So yeah, that's a great story, Mark. Many of you shared the programs you've already done, the MBA, MSL. So thank you for answering that question. Karen, you mentioned that you hit the ground running and have only skyrocketed since then. So I would ask you, what tangible benefit did you receive in the workplace after receiving your degree?
Sorry, I was on mute. So after I obtained my degree, I immediately got an increase in pay as soon as the diploma was in the board's hands. I work for a board for the city. And then I would say about 7 months after that, the position of assistant executive director became available and they held interviews. I was a finalist and I was, given the job. And certainly having the MBA was a big thing for the board. They really were super excited that I obtained it, that I did it in a timely fashion, that it was structured around business, and it worked out for all of us in the long run. So in September, I began to assume that role. I had done it temporarily, but that changed, and then it was just awarded to me for full-time purposes starting in September. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thanks, Karen.
Sure.
Danielle, you mentioned that you're 2 years out of the program, so I would ask you the same question. What tangible benefit did you receive, and have you continued to reap those benefits since then?
Yeah, thank you for that. Fortunately for me, the timing was extremely on my side when I completed my MBA. Was just about to graduate, and in a promotion opened up at Van Meter that was pretty different than what I was in. And I chose to specialize, or whatever we call it, in operations management with my MBA. And so I was currently in human resources, and the position that opened up was in continuous improvement. So not only does that involve people, but it's a lot more operations and process based. So my experience specifically in Todd's classes and some of the other classes lend very well to my interview process as well as my transition into my role. So it was perfect timing, and they say that kind of happens naturally, and it's been really beneficial to not only getting the job but my success. And really it was the only experience that I had and something that I could really rely heavily on when I was going for that position.
Very cool. Continuous improvement. What a great opportunity after the program. Just
Thanks.
carry on.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome, thanks. Anne, can you share your benefits in the workplace?
I would say the benefits were really, I think, around just kind of more globally understanding business topics from not only a kind of technical and leadership perspective. I'll give an example of finance. I would be involved in finance meetings or, understanding where we're going from a business perspective. And I, at times, some of that would kind of fly over me. And after getting my MBA and really getting more educated on that, and after spending some years in the workforce, I had a new appreciation for just some of those terms and how it works. And economics is another example of that. I took economics in undergrad, and when I did it with my MBA, I actually really felt that I learned it more dimensionally. So I think the MBA just really helps with a more dimensional understanding of business and communications and that sort of thing. So really, I took away that tangible benefit.
Thanks, Anne. I'm going to ask another question, Amber. What is something that you learned along the way that still sticks with you today and you use it in your day-to-day operations and workplace?
So one of them would be from our org effectiveness class. One of my favorites is the amazing opportunity for Dartis presentation skills. I've had some training prior to that, but I will say again, nudging, right, forcing us to go through that process, get out of our comfort zone. I was one of the ones groaning, but I was glad it was part of that because everyone can improve on that, right? No matter what your background is, you get in different audience situations, you might have a little glitch or something about you in your presentation style that you want to tweak, but it also helped me because I help to produce events, whether they're in person, and now we've switched to an online platform, and I bring in guest speakers as well. And I use what we learned there to help coach them along to be a better presenter. And I would also say some of the things that I learned in our special topics class on social issues, because I work in social impact, really looking at intersectionality, right? We all aren't just one thing. I'm a female, I'm a mom, I work. I came from a small town, right? Understanding people and really digging deeper, and to be able to plan those into the communications that I'm in charge of for my organization and really think about that and who we're representing to really be able to communicate more effectively. Definitely a lot of lessons learned.
Thank you, Amber. Dante, I'm going to ask you two questions, and one of them came through chat. And I know you have children, so can you speak to going through the program while you work and you have children at home?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off a little bit about my original intentions when I started back. So I started back in April of 2020. My intentions were to do the in-person program and take courses face to face. But as you all know, what happened around that time frame was it was a COVID pandemic. And so I quickly was able to shift and adapt and consider the other alternatives, which were either the online or the virtual. I have been mostly virtual in most of my courses. I did have one online course here recently, and I can honestly say it was a great way to have these offerings available to me and support that. The reason it's important that I share that with you is I live about 45 minutes away from where I work. So I live in Independence, Iowa, work in Cedar Rapids. And as you know, Mount Mercy is based in the Cedar Rapids area. So the in-person was something that I was planning on doing, go to work, then go to classes after work. Well, now that I'm working from home, that option's not there anymore. And what was important is I didn't want to have to be commuting back and forth. So having those options was really great. As it relates to kind of the kids and family, I think the flexibility that's been afforded me by having to be able to take these in a different way has been great. Also being able to reach out to my advisor, Marcy, and say, look, I need a break. Please give me a break this summer. We've got plans and I don't want to have to worry about school. Very flexible, very easy. It's been very supportive in everything that we do. So I feel like there's never been an issue where I needed to balance work, life, and school. It's all been very helpful and productive with all the avenues that are available to me.
Thanks, Dante. Mark, I would ask you, what is something that you learned along the way that sticks with you today?
Just one. There's plenty of things. And kind of to tie it, not to deter you, but so when I started the program, I was the assistant director here, and I didn't actually supervise anybody, but it was more of a role where I felt some formal leadership training would be beneficial to me. And then after completing the program, not immediately after, but I was awarded a promotion to associate director and did have 2 staff moved underneath of me. So it is something that I did receive kind of thanks to the program, but it really helped me then as now a supervisor to use a lot of the things I've learned and really start applying them into my new role. So there's definitely a lot of things that I've learned and had to apply, making sure we effectively have one-on-ones with my team, and giving them that opportunity to lead the one-on-ones, not necessarily dictating it myself. Kind of personally, both personal life and work life, self-awareness was probably my biggest takeaway from the whole program, and being self-aware of my strengths, my weaknesses, and applying that to be an effective leader. So it actually came up recently where our church did a strengths finder, the strengths finder test. And since I'd been through it actually a couple times, my wife did it and participated in the class, but it was kind of a cool way that we could discuss, and she had a little insight of things I've learned from the classes that I had taken in the program as well. But that's probably the biggest thing, is just being self-aware and being able to apply that into my role.
Thanks, Mark. I agree. Dante, what is something you have learned that you're using in your current role today?
Yeah, no, that's great. Appreciate the question. I think there's a lot to pick from, and one of the ones I like to draw from is through work at Collins. We have had the pleasure of taking strength-based leadership as well. And that was something that we had a chance to do here in classes. And one of the things I like about learning about your strengths and how to leverage them as a leader, and I continue to employ at work, is it really makes sure that you hone and focus on how you can take your strengths and make them better and avoid any pitfalls. So for me, one of my mission statements as a result of that class was to personally grow through my curiosity and reflectiveness, and to help others achieve realistic success, sharing my knowledge and wisdom. And so that really is something that I took away from one of the classes. And how I applied that at work is, we did have an intern that was working within my organization, working as a project manager as well. And so coupled with another course that I took at Mount Mercy, I was able to kind of share my lessons, my experiences, my learnings, not only through Mount Mercy, but through my career, and practice my strengths and my mission, and provide that individual with the growth opportunities to be successful. I'm happy to share with you all that this individual who's graduating here in May did land permanent employment at Collins as a result of that experience and that coaching. So I'm really pretty proud and pleased with how that went, and how I was able to help somebody achieve that career milestone for them.
Thank you. Amber, what are you using that you learned in your current role?
For me, it helps in the program development, really, and the fact that I am part of a strategic communications team who's in charge of thought leadership for our whole organization. And we are in education, right? We're in higher ed. COVID has flipped us upside down and tossed us all around, and there's challenges. And specifically in the Center for Equity and Learning, we have a lot of students who aren't able to access class, right? We have a digital divide where students aren't able to get onto the internet to get their education. They are missing the social and emotional side of classes, teachers, their support. And so it's really helped me to, again, take a different look at what we have going on and really kind of come up with some solutions and how we're going to be able to deliver what it is that we do. My department specifically works on fee waivers to make sure that students who cannot afford to take the test, we cover that cost for them. And so we have ramped up because so many students are not in school. We've had to get creative in who we work with to make sure students still have access, because we still are testing students. And so really using what we learned in class and across even some of the special topics classes and the electives to inform the communication plan for our thought leadership. And then I do have the opportunity to work with our CEO, Janet Godwin, and helping inform that work as well, which again, on the strategic leadership side, understanding types of leaders, what kind of leader you want to be, and understanding the leadership styles other people bring, I think has been a strength to be able to plan effectively there.
Thank you, Amber. Karen, you touched on it a little. Would you like to expand more on what you're using in your current role that you learned?
Sure. I kind of feel like that's a loaded question. We have so many different aspects in my office. There's a lot going on in this tiny office. We manage $330 million of funds plus all kinds of other things. And I feel like I learned something in every single class, but some of the things were kind of in the broad spectrum. And something that sticks with me is something I learned in project management with Todd and in Marcy's classes that I took is you have to be able to evolve and you have to be able to work with, the conditions. And certainly now with COVID, it is crazy and offices are locked down. And with all of that said, I'm still considered essential. And if I don't go to work and revamp my typical technique, people don't get paid. The bills don't get paid. The projects aren't finished. So we had to implement some of the strategies that I learned in grad school, to be flexible and to try this and try that to make our life continue and work continue and everyone get paid. So I felt like, as this was happening, I was having these visions of when I was enrolled in school and thinking, oh, okay, yes, everyone handles it differently, or we learn differently, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this crisis happens, and I'm like, oh my, this is perfect. Okay, how can I implement, you know, the things that I've learned to modify our technique to get those things to happen. So I feel like some stuff even happened in hindsight, but certainly those classes were crucial to our everyday work and more so now with COVID.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, that was absolutely essential during 2020 to have the learnings from Mount Mercy, the transitions. And I mean, I still have them all out on my desk. Managing transitions and leading all of the change management books were absolutely critical. So thank you.
Sure.
Danielle, you mentioned your role now is continual improvement. How are you using what you learned at Mount Mercy in that role specifically?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I think about this question, what I really appreciated about my education at Mount Mercy was the diversity of the people that took the classes. So I was able to meet so many people that had different roles than I did and different levels of experience, things like that. And that's really helpful in my current role at Van Meter, because in my current role, the expectation is that I work with every single individual and help them improve their job. So my experience at Mount Mercy learning about the different experiences lent very well to the different experiences that my employee owners have, because we talk about think company, not backyard at Van Meter, which essentially means think about us as a whole rather than just how you're impacted. And that's what we learned at Mount Mercy in a lot of the classes. What I loved even about my online classes is there was a lot of group work. And of course, like everybody else has been saying, online group work was obviously very beneficial to what we're doing now through 2020 and into 2021. But even the group work in person and just the diversity of all of us, because that's just continued through my time and experience here at Van Meter.
Thank you, Danielle. And you answered this question already about what you brought with you, especially from learning finances and how to understand economics and all of those conversations. So thank you for bringing that forward. And I too think that in our programs, we learn about different areas that may not be on our path of thinking. So it does allow us the self-awareness like Mark was talking about and the ability to see other people's perspectives. I have a question for you though, Anne. What was one thing you've done at work that would make your professors proud?
It's actually quite specific. I am just 2 weeks into my new role. And so I'm doing a lot of reading and learning and onboarding, which onboarding virtually is probably for another topic. It's been really neat to do. I've learned a lot virtually. But I actually just finished reading some information on the energy programs that I'll be supporting that was quite statistical. And I felt really good reading the paper because my statistics class specifically helped me understand that. So it was at one time I reflected going, if I hadn't had that class, this would be just something I'd be glazing over. So definitely that. And then also I would add from the other side of things is just the organizational courses through the MBA, organizational effectiveness, training, conflict resolution. I've really thought about those as I'm learning with my new team. I'm doing a lot of listening. I'm absorbing what people are sharing with me, learning to ask questions, but also being mindful of the team. So I think that specifically would be those two takeaways that I learned from those professors would, I think make them proud of what they taught. So.
Thank you, Anne. Mark, I'll ask you the same question. And, you have to tell the truth since you work with Marcy. What was one thing that you have done at work in your position since the program that would make your professor proud?
Well, I answer the phone every time Marcy calls, so that's got to make her proud. But, especially over we touched on it a couple times, 2020, it's the year of change, of unexpected. So having to adapt and be able to be flexible and change, I think really helped benefit with the year 2020. And in our office, financial aid is a very ever-changing, constantly changing type of field anyway. So when COVID hit and it started work from home and all of our team was remote and we had to relook at all of our processes because we're very paper oriented and having to make a lot of adjustments to not just our work schedules, but the way that we processed our daily work. It helped me think back to what I had learned, and some of it was on the fly changes that we were forced into making, but there were a lot of things that then, because of that, allowed us to look at our processes and implement some new changes and new policies, new procedures, and make them better, more efficient. So it was kind of a combination, of being forced into changes with the COVID pandemic, but also then having that knowledge to be able to implement those changes and lead the team effectively into being able to make those adjustments was a huge benefit.
Thanks, Mark. Dante, same question.
Yeah, so as a leader of leader, one of the things that I took away from my recent coursework is what kind of leadership style do I want to follow, and I subscribe mostly to the servant leadership model of leadership. And what I try to do with that, and I apply it to the folks that I lead, is my objective is, while we have an organizational goals and we have team goals, how can I help my employees be the most that they can be and be successful in accomplishing their individual and specific goals? So that's something that I focus on. And the second parallel that I would add to that is feedback is an important aspect of that. And how you give feedback and what you give feedback on is very critical. And another takeaway from a course was I make sure to provide what I would consider feedback that focuses on making that person better and how can they achieve greater success through the feedback I'm giving them. So my perspective and my mindset has really changed as a result of that. And I always tell people, I'm here to help make you the best you that you can be. That's my job. And so whatever that entails, and I focus on that.
Thanks, Dante. Amber, same question.
So I was excited to be able to use from Nicole in our change management class, and then Todd in our systems thinking, and then even Dr. Larry from our MSL capstone. What I really loved about the Mount Mercy program in general was we were allowed to bring problems or issues that we were facing in our job to the class and apply it to a project. And so for change management and with Nicole, for us to think about a team and a project and how we would go through a change management plan, I took that plan the day after I got the feedback and I gave it to my VP. and she used it to inform a project. And guess what? I'm on the project, of course. I put myself on the team. I said she didn't have to use me, but she's like, no, no, no. And so she shared that across. Hey, Amber did this research all by herself. Here's what she's using to inform that. Same thing with systems thinking. My group decided to pick my project. And so to get the outside feedback in on a problem that was kind of bothering me, and we were trying to shake up a system, was phenomenal. Same thing. I felt very open to give that to our VP, and she shared it across the organization. And I'm on that team as well, working to try to put some of these solutions in place. And then same thing with Dr. Larry, I did something on burnout, right? And how we have so much going on, especially with COVID, the pandemic, working remotely. And wellness and burnout was on my mind. And so I presented that to our VP. I presented that to my boss. And that went all the way up to our chief marketing officer, talking about, are you taking care of yourself? And so I love that moment of being able to say, hey, you know, I was finishing up my master's degree. Here's things. Are we thinking about that? Are people feeling okay? You know, there's other things going on. Like my grandmother passed away during the last 2 classes that I was taking at Mount Mercy. So both Nicole and Dr. Larry were like, take the time that you need, but that helped inform this presentation, right? We all have other things going on. The derecho hit my house and I'm still dealing with that. Marcy knew that. And she's like, take a breather. What do you need from us? Right. So taking all of those lessons, packaging them up, and then again, feeling free to share that actual classroom project was great for me to also demonstrate my leadership skills. But it wasn't just a class project. You know, it wasn't just something I gave to my professor and said, hey, give me a grade. It was, give me some feedback, but I want to be able to use this time, because in my job and the many hats that I wear, like probably most of us on the call, you don't get a chance sometimes to do some of that research, or to, if you have something that you're interested in, to have that time. And these projects presented that time that actually meant something to me, and I could apply what I learned across the program to really shine. And I was able to do that in those 3 cases, and I'm thankful for that.
Thanks, Amber. I'm thankful for your burnout presentation because we also used it.
Good, very good, awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It was perfectly timed in our organization as well. Danielle, share something that you have done within your role that would make a professor proud.
Yeah, mine's gonna sound a little bit different, but Van Meter offers tuition reimbursement. And so we have 15 now, actually, I think 16 or 17 locations across the state of Iowa and into Virginia, Nebraska, and now Kansas. And so I appreciated my experience with Mount Mercy so much that when fellow employee owners reached out to me saying that they were interested in going back to school, my first reaction is, you should definitely look into Mount Mercy. And what I love about that is I can email Marcy personally and specifically and say, meet Corey. He wants to go back to get his MBA, but he actually lives in Urbandale. And his experience was also just as good and beneficial as mine. And then not only for the MBA programs, but undergrad as well. We've had some people go back to Mount Mercy. So because of my experience and my love and the openness that Mount Mercy had for my situation, I hopefully make them proud by continuing to enroll more people in that.
Nice. Thanks, Danielle. Yeah, that's a good perspective. It's a different look at how you can share your experience. Karen, same question.
I would say something I think that would make them all proud is, you know, I've taken all of the education in the MBA program, and that has helped me obtain my new role of the assistant executive director. And I actually had emailed or texted Todd and Marcy after that, and they were elated and super happy for me. So, you know, I don't think that I would have gone for the role had I not had the confidence with the level of education that I received from Mount Mercy, you know, to try out and apply and interview for it. So I think that was ultimately something I was considering too when I started the program, is where is this going to take me? Where could it take me? And I want to move up. I didn't want to just stay complacent. So it certainly has opened the doorways for myself in the new role. And then who knows what's going to happen beyond this.
Thanks, Karen.
Sure.
Dante, what are you doing today to give back to the community? I know you haven't graduated, but are you using what you've learned at Mount Mercy to give back to the community?
Boy, that's a great question. I would say that not right now. I haven't done a lot recently, but I will share. I think that people that go through this program, while they may not be giving back after or during, they probably come to this program with an experience of how you gave previously. And let me share my example. So I've always had an affinity for youth sports and coaching. And I think that wanting to participate, wanting to help kids learn and grow and develop is a key aspect of leadership, right? Getting them to achieve greater success through something like sport is always awesome. And so I take that and I apply it to, what I was doing at work, what I do as a leader of leaders in coaching and developing the next level of leaders and employees with my organization. And I think when we get back to some normalcy here and after I graduate, I'll be looking to engage more with how can I bring back more to the community, whether it's continuing in a coaching capacity or helping maybe through a board type of example or something additional to that. The thing about leadership is you don't sit back and idly by. You are engaged and you look for opportunities to continue to engage, and I'll continue to do that.
Thanks, Dante. Amber, same question.
So I have always been an avid volunteer. I'm learning that no can be a one sentence word. We talked a lot about that in the program. But it's just, to me, there's just too many things, I can help out with. And so because I am in kind of that education realm and workforce, I continue to use me being a lifelong learner in my learning story as I talk to students. My husband, also a Mount Mercy grad, we together work on helping students really find their passion. And that is truly what I love to do. I've always loved to do this. And I can use this where I tell students, right, hey, I'm in my 40s. And yes, I had a traditional path to college. I had my 4-year degree. I thought someday I might go back to school. I wasn't, 100% sure for what. I was able to do it at my own pace and really show students that connection of how you can really find yourself along the way. And I try to take the pressure off of high school students of, hey, you're 16 and people are asking you what you want to be when you grow up. Guess what? There's a lot of adults who haven't gotten there either. And I kind of see that ease from the students of, wait, what do you mean? Or it kind of makes me crack up when I am at the high school, in my mom role or coach's wife role or whatever I'm at. And some students are like, hey, Mrs. O'Connor, yeah, my parents, remember, they went to college like 25 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I was there with them, but okay. And they're like, they have no idea what happens right now. You tell them what college is like and what I need. And so I just love being that resource for them. And the fact that, when I was a student, as of last fall still, they're like, wait, you're still going to school? Like, how do you do that? So you quit working, right? So, right, is part of that story to share with them that I'm identifying with them. And I'm also kind of being that role model and giving them some insight that it's not just a check the box thing that you got your degree, but it's how you continue to develop yourself and how to continue to educate and learn along the way and talk about those struggles too, right? I'm a mom, I'm a volunteer, I work full time. Well, how did you get your work done? Time management skills, right? So again, it's really being able to, and again, it may just be student at a time, but I feel like that is what I am here for students to understand that. And we too refer tons of students to Mount Mercy to come as students, or even to plant the seed that you can go back for a master's degree and keep going. And so I'm looking forward to continuing that role along the way in my other volunteer activities as well.
Very good. Thank you, Amber. You touched on something extremely important, and that Mount Mercy believes in lifelong learners, right? We're constantly learning. We always have the opportunity. So when you need that gentle nudge to go for MBA, just call me and I'll.
I just need the funds right now. It's just a funding source right now.
Anyone else in the panel want to share a volunteer? Otherwise, I'm going to open it up to all of the attendees. I know that I asked you a lot of questions. You've shared such great information. And I did get the one question about kids, but I do want to open it up if there's any questions that are out there that need to be covered.
I do want to just jump in and just let anyone know who's listening, you know, that just my thought process looking at this again, knowing how busy I was, and I just told myself, right, do I really need to add one more thing to my plate? And so I appreciated having a representative from Mount Mercy. And again, I felt comfortable reaching out because I do have that relationship. However, going to grad school was a different thing. And everyone throughout that, in my research, I was overthinking it. It is a thing that I tend to do. But they just said, why don't you just try a class? It's a 6-week class. And I said to myself, I can do anything for 6 weeks. I can do anything for 5 weeks. And then there was a 10-week class, right? So I jumped in, and I was not the fastest person to go through the program. I probably pulled down some of the statistics of how quickly you could finish your MSL. But it's also why I went ahead and jumped in, because again, I have kids who needed me. I'm married to a high school soccer coach, and that's spring, and I can't be everywhere possible. And I also had concerts. My kids were very, very active and are still very active. And I was concerned, like, what if I'm going to miss a concert? What if I'm going to miss a game? And the answer for every professor was, we can work around it, no problem. And every single professor worked around that problem. Same thing with when Marcy became my advisor. She just said, okay, fine. So you're busy in April, just don't take a class then. And I appreciated that. So I was able to make this schedule fit for me. I finished in 2.5-ish years. Like Danielle, for a while, ACT was doing a reimbursement for it. And that was very, very important for me. So I also paced it along with that. Everything is doable. So anyone on the call who is just on the fence, I would say just get started, and you'll see that everything resolves from there. Because I had all those concerns, I researched it, and I'm so glad I did not hesitate in jumping in and completing the degree.
Good. I do see a question that was posted. Marcy, do we have time for a question? Okay. Based on your experience, and Dante, I'll volley this one to you since you're like live in the program right now. You're a live wire. Based on your experience, is there any areas of opportunity where you think the program can be enhanced?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did recently participate not too long ago with Marcy and some of the other instructors here as well on a kind of a SWOT analysis about, hey, where do we see some opportunities with this program? I would say there's probably a couple of areas that come to mind for me. The first one is I benefited in my undergrad as an engineer at University of Iowa from seminar type sessions where you could go and learn to interact and build networks with other people that wasn't really focused on what I would say that the course, the curriculum, but really more about interaction and engagement and sharing. I think that's an opportunity for us as leaders. I get a lot of benefit. I think I heard many of us talk about it in class, in our classes, learning from my peers, their experiences, what they're going through at work. And sometimes we don't have enough time to do that because it's class, we've got to move along. So how do we establish kind of a form or a curriculum in order for us to do that, that it may be a little bit additional, but there may be a great value in it, and it's establishing some additional networks. As an example, Carmen and I still stay in contact with each other as well as some members from my other class. These are networks that I've got, and I'll continue to leverage them going forward. I think that's very, very important. I'd say the other thing is I had originally wanted to go in person, and I've been doing most of the virtual. And there's a lot of typing that occurs in the discussion, which is great. I mean, I love the discussion, but I'm a very verbal person. And so I would prefer to have kind of a verbal opportunity or verbal outlet in kind of the virtual classroom environment, whatever that would look like. And so that'd be something that I would offer up as maybe another opportunity for the program to evaluate. How do we do that?
Thank you, Dante. Any other questions from attendees? Well, panel, thank you so much for your openness and sharing your excitement. And I knew as soon as I saw many of the names, that's exactly what we would see from you today. So we appreciate your time. It's valuable. We all know that. So thank you for stepping away from your daily careers and volunteerism and everything that you do to answer some questions for us today. Thank you. Marcy?
Yes, I just want to piggyback on that and say thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are also awesome. We picked the best of the best for our panel discussions, and I think you can see that from our discussions today. Danielle didn't mention it today, Karen did, and one of the things that I remember Danielle and Karen both saying is going through the program gave me the confidence to apply for another job, do something, it gave me that additional confidence. And if nothing else, I think that's really important. It's, getting that confidence to get outside of your comfort zone, even if it's to take classes, outside your comfort zone to take classes. You can do it. You can manage things. As Amber said, you can do anything for 5 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever. And you can hear by listening to the folks today that by getting out of their comfort zone, they've done great things. So kudos to you guys. A round of applause for our panelists and our moderator. And thank you so much, you guys. We'll be back at 1 o'clock for a networking opportunity. So if anybody can stick around, we'd love to hear from all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.